Hi everyone, and welcome to another conversation with the Smith family. And today I'm really pleased to be joined by Andy Mison, who's the president of the Australian Secondary Principals Association. G'day Andy, and thanks for joining me.
Mate, it's my great pleasure, Doug. Nice to be here with you.
Thank you. And look, we've enjoyed a great partnership with ASPA for many years. We both have very similar objectives in terms of what we're wanting to see for students in Australia. We caught up at the last Commonwealth Ministerial Reference Group talking about the work of the National School Reform Agreement and the expert panel and their findings, thinking through the future of the National School Reform Agreement. Important now. Why is it significant?
Well, we don't get the opportunities to think about how we support and resource education in Australia very often. These opportunities come around every 4 or 5 years, and they sort of underpin the next round of bilateral funding agreements that the Commonwealth negotiates with each state and territory. With that comes an opportunity to think about how we prioritise our investment. And I think it's particularly vital given that public schools around Australia are not funded in the main to 100% of the school resourcing standard at a minimum. In fact, only 1.3% of public schools are funded to that level. And unless we change that balance, that situation will remain for at least 5 years.
And one of the priorities of this work is equity. So from your perspective, what would you want to see in the report that would drive equity? So funding is obviously one of those critical things, but what other things do you think we need to be really addressing to get better outcomes for all students?
Well, how long have you got, Doug? I mean,
top two.
Yes. Look, top two is hard. I think actually we need to put our kids front and centre. We need to prioritise the needs of the kids that need our support the most. And I'm thinking in particular about kids in the Northern Territory. The latest PISA results, I think, for what it's worth, show once again that our very remote kids and our Indigenous kids are a long way behind the achievement of kids in the major cities and in high socioeconomic areas. So I think that must be a priority. Some pragmatic strategies. Increasing local decision making about what elements of curriculum need to be prioritised. How should funding be utilised to best support kids who need it the most? They're probably the big ones, really.
What do you think the measures that need to be put in place to address that are?
Once again, if you look at the high performing systems, the systems that are at the top of the scale, like Singapore and Japan and Estonia, just listening to their ministers of education, a couple of fundamental things. They talk about valuing education in their society and the importance of bringing everybody up, just not just some. The absolute importance for the productivity of the country, the overall, lift for the whole society that you get when you invest in your least disadvantaged and bring everyone up. And Singapore is a good case in point. For about 30% of our kids, broadly speaking, are in that low performing percentage, whereas in Singapore it's more like 8%. And they've done that through actually investing in their people. I talked earlier about autonomy, but they've recognised workload pressures and they've taken practical measures to address that. They have also reduced complexity in the curriculum. So, and there's a lot more coherence about it. So students are probably engaging in less content, but they're doing it in much deeper, richer ways.
Right.
Another key factor is the relationship that students have with the teachers and their connection to school communities, that sense of belonging. And actually, interestingly, some of those measures have lifted a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's not just about what happens in the classroom. It's about what happens, outside of school hours, the extracurricular things, the performances, the relationships, mentoring and coaching, and relationships that kids develop with teachers and with people in their school communities. I mean, our schools are really community hubs, and I think that's particularly true in our remote and regional areas. And I think that's something not only to celebrate, but also to invest in. Perhaps some investment in some of the roles and responsibilities that people other than teachers play in schools is something we need to think about. We have to all work together in our society, in our community, to grow our humans, to grow our young humans, right? It can't be just teachers. It has to be teachers, school leaders, all the people in the school community, parents, organisations like Smith Family. Actually, we all have to work together to bring everybody up.
Exactly. Indeed. Great note to end. Thanks, Andy, for your time, and all the best for your team and your work going forward at ASPA. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug.